Morning, everybody. Beautiful Wednesday morning. So we study Ramayana every Tuesday. So Ramayana beautifully describes not the Valmiki Ramayana which we are studying, but Tulsidas Ji Ramayana, which says Ramcharitmanas and Adhyatam Ramayana. Those two Ramayans, they talk about 9 steps of devotion. It's called Nav Vidha Bhakti. So these two Ramayans have very profound uh, knowledge for us. And this was given by Shri Ram to Shabri. And who was Shabri? She was a daughter of a hunter, lived in the forest. When she was quite young, she will just wander into the forest, collect fruits and twigs. And father started to worry about her, that she just wanders into the deep forests. So let me get her married so that she can just stay inside and do the household chores. So he fixed a marriage for her, but she did not want to get married. She ran away from home and she went into the forest, deep into the forest, reached near an ashram where Rishi Matang Muni lived with his disciples. She was afraid to go into the ashram area, so she hid herself nearby. And early in the morning, when everybody was asleep or they were deeply in meditation, she'll go there, clean up the ashram outside, move away all the dry leaves, and she will collect the dry twigs and collect them for yajna in a very neat piles. And she will render this service very silently, very regularly, and then she'll disappear. So nobody knew that. But they started wondering that who does this service to the ashram? They wanted to find out who is doing all this. So one day they saw that this little girl, long before the dawn, when they were immersed in their meditation, was doing this service. So they brought this young girl before Matang Muni and he asked her, he said, "My child, who are you? And why you are giving this service to the ashram?" Shabri said, "My lord, I want only a life of devotion to Supreme Lord. I am doing this because I like the ambience of this ashram. Please initiate me. Give me a small place to live here and I'll serve you. I would like to live a life of devotion." And then sage Matang Muni blessed her, initiated her, and she started her life at the ashram with devotion. He initiated her into the Ram mantra and blessed her that in this way, if you keep reciting Ram name, you will have darshan of Ram in this very life. Just wait, serve, and you will see him one day. So Shabri every day started anticipating and imagining the coming of the Lord Ram into her kutia. After a few years, sage Matang Muni left his body and he left this kutia for Shabri's use. So Shabri lived there and every day waited for the Lord's arrival. until she was quite old. Every day she will follow the same routine. Get up early in the morning, clean up her hut, go to the forest, bring a whole lot of flowers. She will decorate the ashram so that when her Lord comes, the Lord doesn't have to put feet on the ground. His feet will be on the soft petals of the flowers from the gate all the way to the door of her kutia. She will go and collect some fruits also. She will bite into the fruits and keep the sweetest one for the Lord. So she will bring everything from the forest and keep it ready for the Lord. And then she will wait, chanting his name, doing a japa of the mantra, and keep gazing at the gate. She continued with this until she was very old. And all the residents at the ashram will laugh at her. They will say, "Why are you doing this now? Do this when he comes." She will say, "How do I know when he will come? I am keeping all this ready all the time for him." See what a beautiful state of mind she generated with everyday anticipation of the Lord. This is the beauty of Shabri's life. Even when she was very old and tottering, she will do all this. Keep watching at the gate whole day. Believing in what Guru said, she would say, "My Guru has said that my Ram will come." And one day, the Lord came. He came with Lakshman, and immediately he went to Shabri's kutia. She rushed out and welcomed the Lord. He walked over the flowery path and came inside the kutia, and she did not have to bring water to wash his feet. The tears from her eyes completely washed his feet. She bowed below him. She was so immersed in devotion. Shri Ram was moved by her devotion. Then she went in and brought out the fruits she had already bitten into. But Shri Ram ate that fruit. Lakshman did not like it, but he saw that Shri Ram was eating, then he started eating those fruits also. Then Shri Ram asked about her life over there. So she repeated what she has been doing. Then she asked Shri Ram about the instructions of Bhakti. This is where the Navavidha Bhakti comes. Shri Ram tells her the nature of devotion and steps to devotion. And it goes something like this in Tulsidas Ji Ramayana. Navda bhakti kahun to hi pahi, savdhan sun dharu man mahi. These are Shri Ram's words in Tulsidas Ji's language. Pratham bhakti santan kar sanga, dusar rati mam katha prasanga. So it goes in that kind of a language. So step by step, how we can increase our devotion for Lord. Even though Shabri was already immersed in the love for God, but still she's asking Shri Ram, how can I increase my devotion further? After all the 9 steps, Shri Ram says, Soi ati se priye bhamani more, sakal prakar bhakti drad tore. So he says, with this the bhakti increases. So let me, instead of saying in Hindi, because there are some people who don't know Hindi, The first step to devotion, he says, is to keep the company of the saints, which is called satsang. Pratham bhakti santah kar sanga. Make sure your company is pious. The second step is to enjoy listening to legends, discourses pertaining to the Lord. Dusar ratimam katha prasanga. And what is the third step? Selfless service to the Guru's lotus feet. Without any pride. Guru pad pankaj seva tisari. And the fourth step is to earnestly sing praises of the Lord's virtues with a heart clear of deceit and hypocrisy. Then the fifth step, he says, chanting my name with steadfast faith is as the Vedas reveal. Mantra jap mam drid vishwasa pancham bhajan so Ved prakasha. And he said, sixth is to practice self-control, good character, detachment from manifold activities, and always follow the duties as a good religious person. And seventh step is to perceive the world as God himself and regard the saints higher than the Lord. And what is the eighth step? आठवां जथा लाभ संतोषा सपने हूं नहीं देखे पर दोषा. The eighth step is a state where there's no desire left, but the gift of perfect peace and contentment, santosha, with whatever one has. And in this state, a person does not see the fault in others. Sapne nahi dekhe paradosha. Even in your sleep, you don't see the fault in others. And ninth step, he says, the person becomes childlike, simple, with no hypocrisy or deceit. The devotee has a strong faith in the Lord with neither depression or happiness. That kind of a state of mind. In all the circumstances, he becomes calm and composed. That's the ninth step. Nav mahu ekahu jinke hoy, nari purush sacharachar hoy. So Shri Ram adds that Shabri's bhakti is perfect. He says, if anyone were to have taken even one step towards devotion, out of all nine, she or he would be very dear to the Lord. Let me go over these 9 steps again. He said, first step of bhakti is a sadhu sang, the company of a holy person. Who is holy? A holy person is utterly pure in thoughts, words, and deeds. That's a holy. Purity gives holiness to the personality. So association with the Holy One is the first step towards bhakti. Then he says, Gatha Shravana, hearing the divine play, divine attributes of the Lord, so that they are firmly fixed in the mind. Because when we hear Lord's glories, Lord's attributes, they take roots in our mind. And the third step of bhakti is Tyaj Abhiman Guru Seva. You naturally give up egoism, all its ramifications, all its forms, just Guru Seva. The service you render to the Guru, it makes you all humble. It makes you capable of absorbing great knowledge. Because if there's no humility, the knowledge will not seep in. And the fourth step is saying, Nish Kapat Gun Gan. Singing the glories of Lord. See, first listening the glories, then singing the glories with a pure mind, with an uncomplicated mind, with a straightforward mind. And fifth step is Vishwas Jap Nirantar. Deep faith in the Lord, chanting the name of the Lord continuously. That's what Nirantar means. This is one of the most efficacious way of connecting with the Lord. His name has such a power. A name could be Ram, name could be Om, name could be any other name. As long as you have a feeling that this is God's name, chanting again and again, it will rise to bhakti. It will bring the Lord to our mind. Sixth step is Indriya Nigraha and Charit Ujjwal, which means control of the senses. Hence, a great character. So over here, he is giving us an equation with character and self-control. We cannot have a higher character without control over our senses. Great character is formed when senses are held in check and great towards divine. See, purpose of the senses is to hear the glories of God. Sing the glories of the God. This is a required step towards cultivating bhakti. And then Shri Ram says, number 7 is Seva and Man Tyag. Seva, Man Tyag, Jag Mam Moe. The universe is pervaded by the Lord, composed of the Lord, and serving it by giving up all Man and Abhiman. Man Abhiman means self-importance. Let go of the self-importance. Any form of egoism, let it go. Then he says, 8th step is Santosh Nirdosh Man. So I'm just giving you the key words from those 9 steps. Santosh Nirdosh Man, which means contentment and absolutely innocent mind. Innocent mind is the mind which cannot find faults in others. Because only a faulty mind can find faults in others. So this mind sees everything as Ramamai. Only the Lord, all the positive, all auspicious. Its nature has become like that. Such a pure mind. And the final step, he says, Saralta and Nishchal Vyavhar. That means simplicity and straightforward behavior. Spontaneous, natural behavior, no cunningness in the devotee, no calculation in the devotee. A simple heart full of devotion, full of humility. So these 9 steps of bhakti, Shabri hears with great intent, with great conviction. These 9 steps are so important. They are repeated in many Ramayans. There are many Ramayans, but let me tell you Adhyatam Ramayana, because we are going to study that also in these classes. In Adhyatam Ramayana, these 9 virtues, 9 qualities are given with a little variation. First 7 are described as a service of my Lord through repetition with devotion. So first 7. 8th step is described as a service to My devotees. God says, serving my devotees. And that's where that Vaishnav Seva term has come up, which is very important, which means service of Lord by serving his devotees. Because why do we need to serve the devotees? Because devotees carry the bhav of Lord. They are not ordinary people. By serving the devotees, you please the Lord. And the ninth step in Adhyatma Ramayana is investigation to my true nature. This is very essential towards highest bhakti. Who is the greatest devotee? Who see all this as God himself? All nothing but Brahma. This is the knowledge. That is the highest. So that's why I always tell you the three classes of devotees. The lower one says God is up there somewhere. The mediocre one says God is in our heart. And the superior says God alone is. That is the ninth step, according to Adhyatam Ramayana. Everything is nothing but God. Because they have understood the real nature of God. See, devotion and knowledge, they become one finally. They appear to be different initially, but final step, they are one. So with this Navvida Bhakti, Shri Ram tells Mother Shabri that even with one of these steps, devotee gets my grace. And practicing all of these will bring me to devotee. That's why Shabri had these qualities. That's why Lord himself walked and came to Shabri. And Shabri at this point wrapped in tears of devotion. Then she tells Shri Ram and Lakshman how to find Mata Sita, because they were looking for Mata Sita. She is the one who told them the way to go to Sugriv, and the Sugriv is the one who will help. But then she asks for another thing. She says, I would like to give up this body in your presence. So I merge at the feet of my Guru and continue my absorption in you. So love for the Guru and love for God, same thing. So with the yoga sadhana, she gives up her body in Mahasamadhi right there in front of Lord Ram. So this is the story of Shabri, which teaches us how to cultivate this devotion through her life also, the way she lived, and at the same time, in the words of Lord Ram also. What do we learn from here? First thing is, bhakti is born in a fertile soil. That means that mind has to be pure. Where the seed of the Lord's name falls, immediately it sprouts. Because that mind, that soil is so fertile, it doesn't take that long for the seed to sprout. Then what do we need to do after that? Protect it from weeds of worldly man and abhiman through vivek and vairagya. Otherwise, those weeds, they don't let that seed of bhakti to grow. Then after that, make sure you pour water on that sprout through sadhana. And we saw that Shabri, all her life, she did this sadhana. Guru said Ram will come. And she waited for Ram. She was ready for Ram any minute. Every day she just picked up the flowers, the fruits, cleaned the place, and kept gazing and kept saying the name of God. That is the sadhana. So that's why I said pour water on that sprout through sadhana, through which sprout grows further, and the sunlight of God's grace is always there. Sometimes we think we got to have a grace of God. God's grace is like sunshine. It's always there. This tree of bhakti will grow. And what is the fruit on that tree? That is a love for God, which is called bhakti. So in other words, fertile mind, elevated mind, a pure mind, awakened to the truth of divine love. That's what's required in bhakti or bhakti yoga. And that's what, as a yoga students, we are aiming at. And you can see everywhere, you see the surrender part. Few weeks ago, we talked about surrender. If you remember, there were 6 elements to surrender. They're all embedded in here. Let me just revisit that 6 elements to surrender also for you in a very simple terms today. The first one I told you, anukulasya sankalpa. That means you draw a sankalp which is anukul to bhakti. So that means your thoughts naturally will take you to that towards God. Okay, so all your thoughts about God only. And anything which is opposite of this, pratikulasya varchanam. Whatever is dangerous to bhakti, naturally give up. So anything which will take me towards my God, I want to do that. Anything which takes me away from my Lord, I don't want to go there. Then third step for surrender is rakshatiti vishwaso. Deep faith that the Lord will protect me. We got to learn to depend on the most dependable person. And who is the most dependable? The Lord. So a devotee does not depend upon the worldly people or worldly things because he has a deep faith in God only. That Lord will take care of me. So that's why the Bhagat is not a worrisome person. His energy does not get dissipated into the worries. His energy goes in devotion, not in worry. He just want to take a chance to lessen that. Then the fourth thing I told you, go tritve varnam, embracing the Lord's guardianship. That means I don't have to think about how will I take care of myself or my family. God is protecting me. I just keep doing what I need to do, but I'm not going to worry about it. Number 5, Atam Nikshep. He knows the fruit of any action is given by God through the permission of God. And number 6 is Karpanyam, deep humility about our limited individuality. Because we are under the sway of this time, space, and causation. We are limited beings. Humility should be very natural to us. We are born of Him, but currently we are identified with the body, mind, and intellect. It is important to cultivate humility, remain humble. So these are the points also we got to always remember on the path of bhakti. At the end, before I ask you to open up this today's lecture for the question answers, a little story I got to tell you. If you remember in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 9, verse number 22, Lord Krishna said, Ananyash chintayanto mam ye jana pariupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I'm sure most of you remember this verse. It really means that those people who worship me with ananyachit. Ananyachit means without any distraction. That means when we worship God alone, absorbed in God alone, what happens? He says, I look after my devotees, whatever they need, here and hereafter. Then he says, I carry whatever they need from me. Vahamyam. That means I carry, I bring, I give. Vahamya aham. They don't even have to ask. There is a story attributed to Arjun Acharya. This is a different. Arjun Acharya is different than the Arjun in Bhagavad Gita. So his name is Arjun Acharya. A poor Brahman. See, Arjun was a Kshatriya. This is a Brahman. It was later on in the history. Poor Brahman, great devotee, who lived in a hut with his wife. He would beg for alms, do some pujas in people's homes, give some discourses, and whatever people gave, he lived his life with that. That's how he sustained his life. So that was the way of living for that poor Brahman. But he was deeply devoted to God and scriptures. So that means he'll study the scriptures because he had to teach the scriptures. So he wanted to study those thoroughly. One day he was reading Bhagavad Gita. He came across this verse, which I just recited. Ananyanashchintyanto mam ye jana pariyupasate. The same. Where Lord is saying that I literally carry to my devotee whatever he needs. If he has ananya chit, absorption in me. So Arjunacharya thought, Supreme Lord, why would he carry to the devotee? No. Lord grants, Lord bestows. He doesn't carry. He said, let me make a correction. Because Lord doesn't do that. He had a red ink with a pen with the feather on it, and he dips his feather pen into the ink and he strikes out this word Vahamyaham. He said it needs to be corrected. 2 strikes with the red ink and writes Dadamyaham. See, Vahamyaham means I carry. Dadamyaham means I give. He makes this change. Now his wife, who is also a great devotee of Lord, watching this and says, you are changing, correcting the words of the Lord, Supreme Lord. He can get annoyed. Don't do that. So being this, in that society, the male dominant personality, he says, no, you're just a woman. You really don't know what you're talking about. I can correct it. She further said that these are the words of the Lord. That's why it's called a Bhagavad Gita. It's not a Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the word of Lord. It's not about Lord. But he didn't listen to her. He says, I'm going to go take a bath in the lake over there. And after that, I'll go out and do my daily chores. And meanwhile, you just keep doing your household duties. There was nothing to cook within the house. They were so poor. So he just sat there. She just sat in the doorsteps, just waiting for the husband to come to bring something, some groceries, so that she can cook with that. While she's sitting there, deeply hurt, thinking about God, she hears a beautiful tune on the flute. And from the street, she sees a beautiful young boy is coming, carrying a basket on the head. And he stops right in front of that doorstep. And she just looks at him. She said, "Mother, this is for you." She said, "Who sent you?" He said, "Your husband did." And as he put that basket down, she saw all kinds of groceries in there, fruits and the sweets and all kinds of things which she needed for several days. And as he bends down, she sees two strikes on the back, big scratches, and blood is oozing out. She looked at it and she said, "What happened to you? Who did this to you?" That young boy said, "Your husband." She said, "Why would my husband beat you up like this?" He said, "Don't worry, I'll be okay." And he just leaves that basket full of goodies for her and he leaves. After that, husband comes home. She had the tears in her eyes. She's still sitting over there thinking about that young divine boy. And husband says, "Okay, I have taken the bath. Now I'm going to go for my alms." And then when he looks at that basket full of goodies, he said, "Who brought this?" She said, "There was a young boy who said, you are the one who sent all this." And then that boy had two big streaks on the back with the blood oozing. And she said that you beat him up. Why did you beat a young boy? She said, "I did not beat any boy. I did not beat anybody. I did not send any food for you. I haven't even gone yet. I'm just coming from the lake after my bath." Then both of them realized who that boy was. Then Arjunacharya, right away, he just goes towards his papers. He just makes that the correction which he did, he erases that. He says, "I made a mistake. Those are God's words. And God is the one who came over here. And you are so fortunate that you had the darshan of God. And I did not." So the words of Lord should never be doubted. And this is a real story, by the way. Deep surrender is the means for the realization of Lord. If you want to cultivate bhakti, if you want to realize him in this lifetime, like Shabri did, in one lifetime, we need to internalize all this, integrate all this into our life, use our life as one stream towards the Lord. This way, realization and fulfillment of bhakti is possible in one lifetime. We don't have to take many births. So all these instructions are given in our scriptures, but we got to take it seriously. We got to live a life like this, where God is more important than the world. God and God only. Okay, let me stop it here, 11:15. If anybody has a question, want to add something. And after this, we'll have a bhajan from Rita. Yes, Jyoti.
No, nobody yet.
Nobody has a question? Okay, Rita, if you can sing then. Maybe afterwards.
Okay, Namaste Hershji.
Namaste.
Achyut